Hey, true crime enthusiasts! Today, we're taking an unprecedented journey into the dark and twisted mind of one of the most infamous serial killers in history, Ted Bundy. This isn't just another recounting of his heinous crimes. We're delving deep into his psyche, exploring his thoughts, motivations, and the chilling methods behind his madness. Brace yourselves for a long, detailed, and intense exploration of Ted Bundy's inner world. Ted Bundy was born on November 24th, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont. From the outside, his early life appeared normal, but beneath the surface, there were disturbing signs. Raised by his grandparents, who he believed were his parents, Ted grew up thinking his mother was his sister. This revelation at a young age planted the seeds of his complex personality and fractured sense of identity. Ted displayed unusual behavior early on, including a fascination with knives and a penchant for peeping into neighbors' windows. His charm and intelligence masked a growing darkness that would eventually erupt into a deadly obsession. Bundy's early years were marred by a confusing and tumultuous family dynamic. His biological father's identity was never clearly established, leading to speculations and adding to the mystery surrounding his early life. His mother, Eleanor Louise Cowell, moved with Ted to live with her parents in Philadelphia, where he was raised under the strict and sometimes abusive hand of his grandfather, Samuel Cowell. Bundy's childhood was also marked by a sense of abandonment and rejection. His mother's move to Tacoma, Washington, and subsequent marriage to Johnny Bundy was another turning point in his life. Ted never truly accepted Johnny as his father, which only deepened his feelings of alienation and resentment. As Ted matured, his need for control and power over others intensified. He attended the University of Washington, where he studied psychology, a field that ironically provided him with insights into human behavior that he would later exploit. Ted's relationships were marked by a superficial charm and manipulative tendencies, often leaving a trail of emotional devastation. During this period, Bundy began his descent into darkness, honing his ability to blend in seamlessly with society while harboring increasingly violent fantasies. He meticulously planned his attacks, selecting victims who fit a specific type: young, attractive women with long hair parted in the middle. This pattern would become his gruesome signature. Ted's involvement in political campaigns, such as working for the re-election campaign of Washington's Republican Governor Daniel J. Evans, showcased his ability to present a facade of normalcy and competence. His role in these campaigns allowed him to refine his skills in manipulation and deceit, which he later used to lure his victims. Ted's first confirmed attack occurred in 1974 when he assaulted and abducted several women in the Seattle area. His method was chillingly calculated. He would feign injury or impersonate an authority figure to gain their trust before overpowering them. Bundy's ability to charm his victims into a false sense of security was a key element of his modus operandi. As his confidence grew, so did the frequency and brutality of his attacks. Ted's need for control manifested in the meticulous planning of each abduction, from the selection of his victims to the disposal of their bodies. His knowledge of forensic science, combined with his understanding of psychology, made him a formidable and elusive predator. One of Bundy's most notorious methods involved using a fake cast or sling to appear injured, soliciting help from unsuspecting women. This ploy not only disarmed his victims but also played into his need for dominance, as he relished in their willingness to assist someone they perceived as vulnerable. To understand Ted Bundy's psyche, we must examine the duality of his personality. On the surface, he was intelligent, charming, and ambitious, traits that allowed him to blend seamlessly into society. However, beneath this facade lay a deeply disturbed individual driven by a compulsive need for control and domination. Bundy exhibited classic traits of psychopathy: a lack of empathy, manipulative behavior, and a superficial charm that masked his true intentions. His ability to disconnect emotionally from his actions allowed him to carry out his heinous crimes without remorse. Bundy's need for power over his victims extended beyond their deaths. He often revisited crime scenes, engaging in necrophilic acts to reaffirm his dominance. His psychological profile also revealed a deeply ingrained misogyny and an intense desire to punish women who he felt had wronged him. Bundy's relationships with women were often characterized by manipulation and control, masking his underlying contempt and rage. Ted Bundy's cunning and audacity were not confined to his crimes alone. He successfully escaped custody twice, demonstrating his resourcefulness and determination to avoid capture. In 1977, he jumped from a second-story courthouse window in Aspen, Colorado, evading authorities for 6 days before being recaptured. Later that year, he managed to escape again, this time from a jail in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and remained on the run for 47 days. During his time as a fugitive, Bundy continued his killing spree, culminating in the brutal attacks at the Chi Omega sorority house in Tallahassee, Florida. These escapes and subsequent murders underscored his relentless drive to maintain control and avoid accountability. Bundy's ability to escape from custody not once but twice highlighted his manipulative and strategic thinking. He meticulously planned his escapes, taking advantage of the complacency of law enforcement and exploiting weaknesses in the system. His time on the run was marked by a series of violent attacks, demonstrating his inability to control his compulsions even while being hunted by authorities. Bundy's reign of terror came to an end in February 1978 when he was apprehended by police in Pensacola, Florida. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and he faced trials in multiple states for his crimes. Despite his efforts to represent himself and manipulate the legal system, Bundy's charm and intellect could not save him from justice. The trials were a media sensation, and Bundy reveled in the attention, often using the courtroom as a stage to showcase his narcissistic personality. His attempts to sway public opinion and charm the jury were ultimately futile, and he was sentenced to death for his crimes. During the trials, Bundy's demeanor shifted between confident and defiant to visibly anxious, especially as the weight of the evidence became apparent. His decision to represent himself was driven by his inflated sense of self-worth and belief in his ability to outsmart the prosecution. However, this move also revealed his deep-seated arrogance and disconnect from reality. Ted Bundy's execution on January 24, 1989, marked the end of a horrific chapter in criminal history. As he faced the electric chair, Bundy continued to manipulate and deceive, offering last-minute confessions and attempting to bargain for more time. His death was met with a mixture of relief and celebration, as the world was finally rid of a monster who had inflicted so much pain and suffering. Bundy's final days were characterized by a series of interviews and confessions where he offered fragmented and often contradictory accounts of his crimes. These interviews provided chilling insights into his mindset as he attempted to rationalize his actions and deflect responsibility. His execution was witnessed by dozens of people, including some of the families of his victims who sought closure and justice. Understanding Ted Bundy's mind offers a chilling glimpse into the darkest corners of human nature. His ability to blend into society, charm his victims, and meticulously plan his crimes made him one of the most dangerous and enigmatic serial killers of all time. By examining his psyche, we not only gain insights into his motivations, but also recognize the importance of vigilance and awareness in preventing such horrors in the future. If you found this deep dive into Ted Bundy's mind fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more true crime stories. Let's continue the conversation in the comments below. What do you think drove Ted Bundy to commit such horrific acts? Do you have any theories about his psychology? Let's talk. Stay safe, stay curious, and remember the line between the ordinary and the extraordinary is often thinner than we think. Until next time.